state, not a doctor, not your husband, nobody. So
Right.
I will say about happiness and joy, happy people live longer. And that's not just some woo-woo, foo-foo thing out of the sky. When you are calm and joyous, the mechanisms are real.
Welcome, everyone. You are listening now to the Second Wind podcast or YouTube. And today we have a very, very special guest. But before we start, I want to invite you to please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and most importantly, we are sharing real stories with real people. And I would love for you to share this video as much as possible because the guest that I have today, her name is Ann Taylor. And what she is going to share is just such, wow, important information. There's a whole variety. She has transformed through so many things in her life, and she's an inspiration to me. She's an inspiration to all of you. So I want to welcome Ann Taylor, to join in on this recording. And I would love for you to just kind of first talk about how in a short time, how did you get to where you are right now? I mean, you're definitely an earthly leader here of really showing women, especially, how they can change anything they want in their life and be who they really want to be.
Hi, it's so nice to see you. Yeah, I've done lots of things, some of them smarter, some of them less smart. It's all experience. And yes, I just think that yes, you can pivot. I know thousands of women who've pivoted. I've done so many times. Yeah, I was an perfectionist kid, academics child doing ballet and cotillion and debutante, and then a sorority girl in college. I studied biology, worked in biotech afterwards, didn't love it. Pivoted, did an MBA, worked in oil. I was a sex worker, helped pay for graduate school. Society made that very hard. I do not recommend it to anybody. It's too hard. Not the job. The job's just dating. It's pretty boring, actually. It's literally just dating, but the stigma and the shame and society's judgment make it a bad choice. Not worth it, even if you survive it, like I sort of mostly did. Too much happened that was awful. So, ladies, choose something else. It's not worth it. That said, when I worked in oil, we took a company public. I got to do a road show for years, made a few bucks, bought some real estate. I was flying planes for a hobby, decided I wanted to fly bigger, faster stuff. So I became a flight instructor, and then I flew cargo and charter, and have sometimes also just flown for a hobby for months or periods of time when I didn't fly for employment. It doesn't pay a lot, but it's super fun. So whether you fly for pay or not for pay, it's still great. And I'm a sister and a friend and a family member and a dog mom and a good neighbor. And I'm still a fitness junkie. And yeah, I live in Manhattan, which is endlessly exciting, breathless, crazy fever dream of a city. I travel a lot, which makes living in the concrete jungle tolerable. And I will continue to pivot. I'm in my late 40s now. I can't wait for my 50s and 60s. I know that they'll be just as fun in whatever ways. I have some plans of things I want to do, and I'm sure things will come at me that I did not plan for. And yes, I know that you can pivot. I know that because I know thousands of people who have at all stages in life. Life has its chapters for all of us, whether you decide to be a mother or not, wife or not, career person or not. And pivoting is actually probably the natural state of affairs if you think about it. Mother Nature,
Sure.
Mother Nature loves diversity. It's humans that struggle with it.
We live in such an ocean of motion, okay? And people who want to stay stagnant usually are being continuously very challenged with trying to keep things just the way they are. Obviously, Anne, you are a shaker and a mover. You are not going to let any grass grow under your feet. Okay. But for real reasons though, You talked about, you know, the call to living, the fullness of your life. And prior to us being on here right now, you mentioned something I've just been thinking about all weekend, off and on, the regrets of the dying. Okay. No doubt you're not going to regret a thing. Okay. When we never know the moment it's going to happen, we never know, whatever. But I really would like you to shine the light on that just a little more, because there are a lot of people, they may be close to those moments of exiting their physical body. They might be going through some situations where they're sitting on one golden egg after another and doing nothing. But the importance of a life well lived is a life without regrets, to me.
Yes. This is a great way to say it. No grass under your feet. Yes, I want to arrive to my death exhausted and used up and maybe in love and maybe a little drunk. I joke, but about the drunk part, I don't really love alcohol, but no shade on those who do. I want to, and I don't, no days given, correct. I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. I hope not. It's unlikely. But if I went tomorrow, I would have had the most fun, even if I only get 47 years. and and also I would have I helped my family, and I'm proud of that. That gives my life meaning. It's important to me. I think you talk about, it's a morbid thought to ruminate on our mortality. It's the great unknown, and sure, it's scary, of course it is. I don't think I'm afraid of death, but I'm maybe afraid of the pain and the great unknown. That's normal. I'm a human. However, it is important once in a while, in a sort of sweetly morbid way, to ruminate on your death, because that reminds you that you must live and navigate your life with perfect purpose and authenticity, because you will not be here forever. None of us get out of this game alive. And I don't know what the next adventure is. If I go first, I'll come back and haunt you and let you know. But I don't know what it is. And so you want to live your truth. And for me, that involves embracing who you are at your core, which can change.
Mhm.
But you know who you are in the quiet of night. We all do. Your values, your passions, your beliefs, your desires. It's important not to succumb to external pressures. A lot of people want to feed their ego by controlling others. A lot of systems do. And external pressure will always be there. It has cost me a lot in life to not succumb to external pressure and societal expectations. I don't recommend being as aggressively deviant as perhaps I've been, but to the degree you're comfortable, it means aligning your actions, your words, your decisions with your true self, even when it's difficult, because it will be. And the reason that matters is because then you create a life that's genuinely fulfilling. A lot of people at the end of their lives lived for others and have great regrets. There's the inner conflict that will arise when you try to fit into molds that don't reflect who you are, um, will prevent you from forming deeper connections, having greater self-respect, and having a stronger sense of purpose. So, if there's books written by smarter people than me about the regrets of the dying, and people nearing the end of their lives, they often gain a lot of clarity about what truly mattered. So I think one book, I'm going to forget the title, you can look it up, but it's written by a palliative care nurse named Bonnie. I can't remember her last name. I'm sorry, I didn't write it down.
Sure.
But people say things like, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not what other people expected of me. A lot of people say they wish they'd had the courage to express their feelings. I
Mhm.
wish I'd stayed in touch with the people that I loved. A lot of people say, I wish I'd let myself be happier. Now think about that. Why would you
Yes.
not let yourself be happy? Because society will often tell you you shouldn't be or don't deserve to be. Joy, in my opinion, is probably what we're here to do, among other things. And so again, authenticity, connection, emotional expression, and yes, joy, not external achievements, not stuff, not societal approval. You know who you are again in the quiet of the night. You know who's in that, call it your brain or soul, whatever you want to refer to it as. You know what you cherish, and don't exit your body and this chapter without serving what you truly cherish, which is different for all of us.
It truly is. And Amy, it's people can get so frozen in their fears, just really, really frozen in their fears. And a few weekends ago, I was at the Hopi Village in Second Mesa, Arizona, and I was sitting in a ceremony right beside a medicine woman, and she just looked over at me and she said, "Don't be afraid of fear." And she said it several times. I thought, that's fascinating. All right, fear will arise. Fear will arise. Okay. We try something new. We have terror barriers. We try, we're not living enough joy. We're living enough fear then. Okay.
Yes.
That's what my experience has been. And in seeing and hearing you and meeting you, Amy, you're a person who I can tell you don't let that stop you from what your heart, what your soul is leading you next to do, I'm just, people need to hear this, and to know beyond the fear, just walk through it beyond it, because in change, there is, for me, even recently, I've made a lot of changes in my life and I'm making more decisions. And is it comfortable? No, but I'm like a snake. I could shed my skin again, and you have done this so much. And to inspire the people who are just stuck right now in that fear, I want you to talk about that.
Sure. Well, I mean, fear is, like you said, you are going to feel it. There's no way to like not be afraid. You're a human being. I've been deeply afraid, but correct. It's how you deal with it. And here's the dirty secret.
Yeah.
It's in overcoming fear that you become better. Like, when you try to get a little fit, and you're like, I want to run a faster half mile. I want to be able to lift a bigger dumbbell or what, I want to be more flexible in yoga, whatever it is.
Mhm.
It's in the struggle. It's in the struggle that you become better. And happiness is not often derived from a life of just lazy ease. That kind of sometimes makes people a little crazy, not having purpose. Happiness is often derived from surmounting challenges, including fear. And afterwards, looking back and be like, yeah, I did that thing and I did it and I can do anything else too. You become better by meeting challenges. Uh, I am the analogy that others said is a caterpillar going into the cocoon, metamorphosizing into a butterfly. It. We don't know for sure, but maybe it has no idea what's happening as it's melting, and maybe there's fear. We don't know. I'm anthropomorphizing, of course, but
Sure.
the analogy is that you don't need to know how it's going to turn out to do it anyway. I don't know that much about electricity. I'm no physicist,
Mhm.
but I can flip a light switch, right?
Mhm.
And so when you feel fear, it you must not let it hold you back. First of all, that lets your haters win. Don't do that. I joke. But like I joke, but spite can be a driver sometimes. It can be like, I'm going to show you. And there's not necessarily, that's not always all bad,
Mhm.
mostly joking. But understanding that change and the unknown is a natural and healthy part of life, and that you are not the only one. Everyone else feels it too. You're not unique and special in that way.
Good point. Mm.
Yeah, it can empower you to be bold. And look, what's the worst that can happen? You pivot back. I've done a million things that failed. I tried to play clarinet when I was a child and I was horrible at it.
Mhm.
And so I quit and I played piano instead. That went better and I still play.
Mhm.
Uh, but literally, what's the worst that can happen? Most of the decisions you make aren't going to kill you.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
can pivot, as we'll talk more about.
I heard this years ago from an Apache medicine man who worked with me when I lived in California, Amy, and he said, make a decision, even if it's the wrong one, just do something, okay?
Mhm.
Because people will just sit on the burner for so long, but do something. And that's what you're doing. That's what I'm doing every day. That creative juice is
Mhm.
part of how the spirit of the universe, whatever you want to call it, activates every cell, every organ in my body.
Yes.
There is a question that I ask people periodically. If you had 6 healthy, wealthy months to live, and why you would be leaving your body now is because you're going to go on to your next mission. It's not because, of any illness or whatever it is. 6 healthy, wealthy months to live. Is there anything you would do different?
Sure. I would, well, I'd stop doing any work. Um, I would spend some of my money. I still want to leave some to the nieces and nephews. That's important to me to make their lives easier. But I would spend a little, do some of the travel. I still haven't been to Antarctica. I would go see it. Uh, I would, um, I would focus on the people that I love, and that's largely my family and a few friends that I've had for decades. Um, I would absolutely get off the internet. No shade to this show, which will be on the internet, but you are a kind, high sensitive, good soul who's trafficking in help and joy and good things. But there are a lot of podcasts, sadly, which many rate highly, that are trafficking in rage and debate and hate and
Mhm.
social media where people love to argue. I would do none of that anymore. I would be awesome to like never log into X and see people fighting with each other anymore. I should do that now, but I can't. I need to be on there. So I would not spend 1 second on the things that don't serve me joy, because some of them are sort of a necessary byproduct of getting my work done and paying for food and shelter.
Yes.
I try to, so yeah, I would be more economical with my time, and I would focus on the people that I love, and then yeah, all the logical stuff. Make sure my paperwork's in order for the charities and the things that I care about, that I would like to leave a legacy toward. Uh,
Mhm.
and then maybe I would try some of the psychedelic drugs that I'm afraid of and I can't do because I'm a pilot and we get drug tested every 6 months for our class one medicals.
Mhm.
I might go and try like ayahuasca or mushrooms or the things that I might,
Mhm.
maybe. I have to think about that one.
Yeah. But see, what you just described was a life without regrets. You just described that, you know? And that's just a reference point that I will do for myself periodically, as my own soul compass gauge of saying, all right, what do we have going here that time for me to shift? What do we have going here? And that what you just said, Amy, is it truly is about compassion, others, connection. Okay. The things you really honestly can't hardly buy.
Yeah.
Seriously. Okay. What you just described, the things in life that are so valuable, that mean a lot to each other. You can't even put a price on it, you know?
This is we live in a capitalist world. Money, sorry, dog.
Yeah.
The You do need shelter and food, and when I was young and broke, that did take away a lot of dignity to not to have to worry about like buying groceries. So I'm not saying that money doesn't matter. I'd be lying. Of course it does, but you're right. It's not everything. And people put too much stake in it. Now, easy to say when you no longer have to worry about groceries because you're older. And I'm grateful that I don't. I hope I never have to again. I guess we'll see. But it's true that having to focus on the basics of survival is not the most fulfilled life. We all do,
Mhm.
but correct when you understand the directions in which you want to pivot, and I love that you still do. You understand that like contributing in the ways that you are talking about spirituality and natural health, you start to think about your life as more than just paying bills and surviving. You want to leave the world a little more joyous and easier for those coming up after you.
Mhm.
You'd like to impart, I think some of us older women, we want to impart some wisdom. Like I
Mhm.
feel like the old bog witch with like a lot of knowledge because I've been alive and I want it to be better for those younger than me. And
Wow.
and those things start to be bigger drivers than perhaps accumulating wealth anymore.
Yeah, because you're such an example of someone who is fearless. Not that you won't feel the fear, but you transcend it. Okay, to live your life the way you want. So it like being how you are, oh my goodness, I just so relate to so many things about what you're saying, and even in my own life. So having bigger dreams and bigger goals is it's just a part of who we are.
Well,
Okay.
and it involves, yeah, you have to let go of some past stuff. We talked and we'll continue to about pivoting. Um, you have to embrace change, and that you can't embrace change and pivot and help anybody else unless you sort of accept yourself, flaws and all. I've made lots of mistakes. Um, and you have to, it requires some courage to navigate transformation. And the only way you can give back to anybody else and have your life have a deeper meaning is to sort of, yeah, let go and embrace your past and the knowledge you've gained, but also let go of things that might hold you back. I think it involves, yes, some deep, radical honesty, which
Mm.
is difficult.
I love that deep, radical honesty. That is so true. That
Very few people feel comfortable with honesty. Like you can see it physically. They're living like hiding a lot. And I understand why, because the judgment, you could lose your job, you could lose your friends, and that stuff is real. But if you embrace the whole journey, and again, then and if you try to release judgment where possible and where logical, not too harmful, then the forgiveness you grant yourself will help you be more empathetic than others. The least empathetic people I know, the most judgment, they're always the ones who hate themselves and are haven't forgiven themselves yet. You see it every time.
that is so true. Um, I have learned, Amy, when, and I'm doing this again right now, it's just going to be part of my evolution. When I give up something in life, it's not a loss. It's given up something for something better to come in, or something more on a frequency fit, vibration that will match. So I think part of this process in life of grieving loss, I mean, it's just, what this is. And this thing of dying is so fascinating, Amy. I was in a situation last week, and a particular, actually, there were several medical doctors who met with me. And it's a long story, but I'll share this on YouTube pretty soon. They were 100% convinced that I had cancer, 100% before everything came back. Okay. And, and I just was very clear. I said, I looked the one in the eyes and I said, look, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm not afraid of living. Okay. I have a peace inside of me of who I am and where I'm at in my life. And I have all the confidence in the world. If there was such a thing, I have a team around me that is pretty amazing. I would know what to do holistically. And I said, I'm choosing not to have certain things done to my body. And she just looked at me like, are you insane? Are you really getting what I'm saying? And and the long story of the short of this is everything is incredibly well. There's nothing wrong. My body goes through detoxification because I'm choosing a certain path of how I'm eating. It's breaking down cysts and tumors, stuff like that, that is not medically recognized. That's okay, of that kind of thing. But what I want to address here is to authentically live our truth like you're talking about. This is my truth for now. This is how I choose to live my life, because when we are wanting that level of quality, when we're wanting what you're talking about, that joy and that happiness, it's, I personally realize and see, oh my gosh, being around people like you helps activate that more in me, because I come from, I mean, I know how to work, and it's not about that. I am so passionate about everything that I do. I just love it. But there's a balance, okay? For me personally, to hit that, another level of balance, which means embrace the joy. Is this supporting my joy and my happiness? And I hear that coming from you, that you're so passionate about that. And a lot of us, we just need to hear that. We need to be around this type of frequency. And I'm so thankful you're supporting women and men and women. You're supporting people on this journey.
Well, so cancer, first of all, with a cancer, pre-cancer study, whatever they saw, a little blip that might be pre-cancer or their suspicions of blood work, in the end, it is your body and your choice. You
Right.
are the owner of your body. They are not. And you have a right to do as you wish with it. Whatever outcome that is, in the end, it's your choice. They have their protocols.
Mhm.
I understand what they believe in. I understand sometimes they have great outcomes. Sometimes they
Yes.
don't. I dated an oncologist for 6 years. He made a joke once. He said, "Whatever we do, it always comes back. It might come back 40 years later, and that's basically a life that
Mhm.
you have. So, we're all buying time. None of us are immortal. But in the end, it is your body and your choice, and no one has the right to judge you for the choices that you make.
Mhm.
Or, I mean, there are people who choose only straight to hospice. They want no treatment, and they know that it's going to end their life sooner, but they wanted some quality and they didn't want to fight. And that is also their choice.
Mhm.
You own your body. No one else does ever. Not the state, not a doctor, not your husband, nobody.
Right.
So I will say about happiness and joy, happy people live longer. And that's not just some woo woo, foo foo thing out of the sky. When you are calm and joyous, the mechanisms are real. Cortisol goes down.
Mhm.
Cortisol is a stress hormone, very useful, shunts blood away from the extremities toward the vital organs, gets you ready to run from the tiger or fight. It's useful. There's a reason cortisol goes up
Yeah.
when you have anger or stressed. It's an evolutionary adaptation that has utility. However, it also helps sugar flood out of the liver to increase blood sugar so you get energy. That can be problematic for things like blood sugar levels, diabetics,
Mhm.
vascular, the walls of your vessels can take some damage if that happens over and over a lot.
Yeah.
So, elevated cortisol for a long time, it makes you store belly fat. It's a survival thing. Your body goes, okay, I need to store fat because something's trying to kill me, sort of, or threaten me.
Mhm.
So, if you store too much belly fat, eventually you can get more heart disease indicators. So stress has real effects
Yeah.
on the body. Unhappiness
Mhm.
has real effects. Plaques in the brain, tau proteins that are indicative of early dementia and Alzheimer's and things. If you don't get the blood flowing by taking a walk in nature or stretching out a little yoga or Tai Chi, plaques form more. You need to keep the plumbing going. So joy is not some woo-woo thing out of the sky. It has real effects on the body. Western medicine separates the body and mind in a way that is not true. We've all felt what it feels like. Lay your head on the person's chest that you love. Your hearts will start beating in unison.
Oh
That happens
gosh.
real. Try it. That's not hocus pocus.
That is
You
so true. Oh,
ever,
you're,
ever felt somebody looking at you behind you?
yes.
How
Yeah.
does that happen? You don't have eyes back there.
Yeah.
So, there's stuff. It's hubris to think that joy is just some nonsense thing that doesn't affect your body. How could it not? So, given the choice, you might as well try to find joy because if nothing else, it's healthier
Hmm.
and
Oh gosh, that is beautiful, Amy.
it's real.
That is real. This is so true. I mean, at this phase of life, to have these awarenesses, this mindfulness is just so empowering. And I really, really just encourage anyone listening to this video, please share this with others, because for those who are going through challenges, or they're afraid what's going to happen in the world, they're afraid whatever is going to happen,
There's always stuff happening in the
there will
world. There's
always
always
be, we
shit.
could shift this, right?
And
You
it'll
know,
never be perfect. You think when people were crossing the West in wagons that women are like, yeah, now's a great time to have a family. It wasn't. They did it anyway.
they did it anyways. Yeah.
People find love and joy during war, during famine. Of course, no one loves those things, but
Uh-huh.
people, we are meant to find joy, and we often find it in difficult places. And that involves letting go of some expectations, right? The Buddhists say that there's misery is only caused by expectations. I've
True.
done I've done some broadcast media with people who are very nasty and judgmental, and if you dig a little on their lives, you find great shame and pain and trauma.
Mm,
And
mm,
and we all have trauma and shame and pain. It's the way in which we process it that determines how we treat ourselves and how we treat others as a result of it. You can either let your trauma make you a destructive person who hurts others, or you can work and to make you an empathetic person who
mhm.
does less harm to others. I say choose the latter if you can.
Yeah, that is so true. When you were talking earlier, it reminded me of a story. A couple years, about 2 years ago, we were in Maui. And a lot of times, because of the price of food or what you can and can't get, I'll ship stuff over before getting there. Or so, anyways, wasn't as prepared on this trip. Okay, and it was actually immediately after COVID, so things were pretty still shut down and real restricted over there. We get there at the hotel, and this couple comes up with a huge ice chest, one of the big ice chests you could get at Costco there. And he said, "We have to leave today. Would you like this?" And it's full of food. It was full of good stuff. It was full of, I'm like, okay, this is good, because I was having these trepidations of being a prepper, okay, and I got to make sure we're not going to starve, okay, and we're going to. I mean, these are this old stuff that's been in my genes forever. Who knows where? I don't care. I got to change it. And then I'm just like so thankful. And then met some friends of ours who on a plantation there, and she said, interesting. During the COVID, we had more fruit grow on our trees, more bananas, more everything than ever in that they could ever remember. Nature provided for the people. They had so much food for the food banks that they were even turning it away. That's how much, and Amy, that tells me, having the belief, having the faith, just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
Mhm.
It's the alchemist, it could, nature provides, we can manifest anything and everything if we stay open
Mm.
and have that level of gratitude, expect those like unexpected miracles, but you got to be open to it too.
And that person who gave to you, you didn't take from them. That brought them great joy to know that their ice chest and their stuff was getting used because they were leaving anyway. And
Hmm.
so it's literally a win-win. You get snacks and a nice cooler of stuff, and they get the feeling of having done something kind. So there's no take, there's only give.
Yeah.
And there are things like that in life, like when trees grow and get pollinated, the bee does their job and the tree regrows, or seeds that a bird ingests and then deposits out the other end and it plants a tree. There's no take, there's only give. So it's not nature is not a zero-sum game. We
Mhm.
invent that as humans, that there's a taker and a giver and that someone has to lose and that it's a hierarchical competition. Nature is often far more quantum in that one and one is not two. It's not someone doesn't have to lose. There are situations in which an animal has to eat another animal. There is the loss of earthly life because someone consumes. That does exist for sure, but not everything is like that. There are situations in which the giver gets as much as the receiver. Love is a fine example of that. It's not finite, right? When you
Oh my
love
goodness.
people, they love more. It grows.
Mhm.
It's there's no loss.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Amy. I'm just so inspired by who you are, and all that you're doing, and I know our listeners will be too. How can more people reach you? What is the best way to contact you and follow what you're doing and hear more about who you are and what you're doing?
Thank you so much. If they want to keep up with any of my modeling work or the other media that I once in a while do, or my rambling thoughts of being a middle-aged lady navigating this ride we call life, they can keep in touch with me. I'm Amy Taylor NYC on all the socials. I'm out there. So say
Oh my
hi.
gosh. That is awesome. I encourage everybody, please get in touch with her, see what she's doing. You're such an inspiration here. And thank you so much for joining us today. And I look forward to following you myself. And thank you dearly.
Thanks, guys, for listening, and give yourself compassion.